The drawings for my little stone studio show a set of stone steps. Now it's a lot easier to draw steps than to try to build them, but I want to give it a try. And I don't really know what I'm doing. All I can do is study the examples that I like and try to emulate them the best I can. Welcome back to my channel and another episode of this project of mine, a stone studio up on the hill behind our house. Now, anytime I build something new, I draw it first, and this is what I came up with. I had to climb 2 feet total, and I decided to make those 12-inch treads and 6-inch risers, and it works out fine. And the first thing I have to do is dig a hole. So I drove some stakes in the ground where the front corners of the steps would be and got started. There's a big boulder in the way, so I'm going to have to dig around it. I can't get it out. So let's turn a couple hours of work into a minute or two of video. And work to a little fiddle tune called Bill Cheatham. Here's the finished hole, and you'll see on the left a strip of concrete that I poured to rest on the footings. The purpose of that is to give me a way to protect the drainage pipe that runs along the foundation. I don't want it compressed by the weight of the stones, so I'm going to bridge across to that little footing. I won't pour a concrete slab for the foundation of the steps because I don't think it's necessary here. I think gravel would be sufficient. And then I'll use a tamp to tamp it good and firm. You see the stone in the right foreground bridging the gap over the drainage pipe. There's more trimming and shaping to do on the stones for the steps than there was for the stones in the foundation. You can see that I built the top step first because it was on top of the foundation and wanted to make sure I knew exactly what the final landing place was going to be so that I could set my string lines in relation to that top step. So once I had the stones for each tread, I filled the void behind them with rubble and concrete or mortar. So let's take a break now and go to guitar camp in lovely Brevard, North Carolina. So now we're back on the site and I'm measuring to make sure I've got a 6-inch riser to that string level. And I have a rock in mind for the middle of that third step, which I think will be kind of a focal point. The problem is that this particular rock is the hardest I've encountered so far. So I'm using a tracer and a stone hammer to trace a line and try to get the stone to break. So I'm probably going to have to use a drill. The rock is only an inch or two too long, and I'd like to be able to just chip those 2 inches off with a hammer, but the rock is too darn hard for that. So here I am drilling it. It's an awkward part of the stone to drill because it's too close to the edge and the bit tends to dance along. You can see it. You have to angle it into the stone and then gradually straighten the bit out in the direction you want it to travel. Takes a little getting used to. I'm wearing a mask because the silica dust is really hazardous. You don't want to breathe it. All of this work for one stone in a set of steps that'll have dozens of stones. I have to use my little tire inflator to blow out the dust so that my feather and wedges can go down in the holes and don't get stuck there too shallow. I've set the wedges and feathers and now I'm tapping them as evenly as I can to try to get a clean break along that backside of the rock. The broken edge won't be visible in the steps, but I'd still like it to be as even as possible because it'll be easier to set that way. Here I'm just tapping out some of the nodules of stone that remain between the grooves where the rock broke. So now it's time to lug the stone to its final resting place. I don't know how much this thing weighs, but it feels like about 80 pounds. A bag of concrete. So it's close to the right height on the front edge, and I'm just putting some wafer-sized stones to prop it up temporarily to see if I can get the right level. I want it to slope slightly forward, but not noticeably so, to shed water. So I guess I'm kind of slow as a stonemason because I'm going to spend the better part of an hour dancing with this rock. But I'll speed things up while we listen to another fiddle tune, Sally Gooden. So I peeled away the plastic that I set over the steps overnight because there was rain in the forecast and I didn't want the mortar to wash out. So now it's time to point the joints and clean up some of the excess mortar. Make sure all the gaps are sealed up and tight. I'm using a wire brush with a couple of steel ears on it that I can pull mortar out of the joint with if I need to. I've read that wire brushes can scar up those stones, but that must be softer stones than these because I don't see any evidence of that in this granite. So here's the final result. Not cleaned. There's a detergent that you use to clean these stones, and I haven't done that yet. But if you wash them down, they look pretty good. The color comes out of the rock some. And it'll look better when I clean them. You may wonder why I built these steps before I built the walls that go on either side of it. And one reason is I wanted to do the hardest part first. And another reason is that the edges of the wall at the doorway will rest on the top step. And that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I hope you come back and see the next episode. And I hope you'll like, share, subscribe, and comment. I'd love to hear from you.